President Trump, MAGA voters, and what's going on with the current state of America. Let's start off by showing what President Trump spoke about the recent controversial news in UFOs. He spoke about this a couple of hours ago. Wow, we have a lot of news to talk about. President Trump is speaking about UFOs. We have some news on New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani and what he's saying about the current state of America. The Strait of Hormuz just opened up. And MAGA voters are kind of going a little bit crazy right now. Plus, President Trump just held a press conference in the Oval Office with people like Joe Rogan and Kennedy speaking about healthcare in America.
Was Eric Swalwell, Congressman Eric Swalwell, and he has dropped out of the race. 5 women came forward now and accused him of terrible sexual stuff. He denies it, of course. But
that's unfortunate.
Furious because they say this was kind of an open secret going on, and why people knew this. I think they're right. I think the signals were everywhere. Like, you know how politicians always wear the flag pin? He had an eggplant emoji. I mean.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So he has also now stepped down as a congressman. He's not even there anymore. Because,
very good.
It turns out first one woman comes forward, then it's 4, then it's 5. Turns out he hit on a lot of women, and also once in a dark cocktail lounge, Kristi Noem's husband. So he is completely gone, but before he left, he did apologize to the 11 million women voters in California and invited them all to his hotel room.
All right. Also took over Queens, New York intersection Saturday morning, setting up a ring of fire while a car and a man were waving a flag. The New York Post said last night was a zoo. Very interesting. Typical action in New York City. It seems like this happens every other night or every other day. Of course, this is going to happen in the town run by Mamdani. No police to stop it because they're all defunded. And crimes like this just continue to happen. We have news here from RFK Jr. confirming that nearly 1.4 million people purged from taxpayer healthcare are illegal aliens. Let's check this out.
People could lose their health insurance.
How is that a cut?
Okay, let's talk about
that. That is only a cut in Washington, D.C.
Have you met with any of the 1.4 million people who have lost their health insurance just this last year from dropping off of Obamacare? Have you sat down and talked to those folks about the fact they won't have their health insurance again?
They're almost all illegal immigrants.
Oh, well, you know what? It sounds like you haven't met with folks like Portia in my district.
We found 1.5 million illegal immigrants illegally collecting Medicaid.
Mr. Secretary, there are people like Portia in Buda, Texas, whose health insurance costs went from $100 a month to $500 a month. People like my constituent Shauna in San Marcos, Texas, her premium went from $250 to $750 a month. Now, $500 a month may not be a lot to you or to some of the billionaires that y'all are talking to, but for these moms with kids, they've lost their health insurance this last year. So have you had a conversation with, how many people have you sat down with that have said, Mr. Secretary, I lost my health insurance this last year. What are we going to do about it?
87% of the people who are on Obamacare are paying less than $96 a month. 54% of the people who are on Obamacare today are paying less than $50 a month.
Well and good for us to talk about Obamacare policy.
By the way,
question is, it sounds like the answer.
Democrats had 3 chances to make.
We could talk all we want about the past.
Tax credits.
We could talk about.
Why didn't you do it?
We could talk about the past.
Why didn't you do it when you had the power to do it?
Mr. Secretary, just like you, I'm new here. I'm responsible for what's happening right here and now.
Yell at your colleagues.
My question, Mr. Secretary, is: have you met with anybody that's lost their health insurance? And it sounds like the answer is 0. So my question was, you've had time to meet with the billionaires. I know it's a lot of fun to meet with Kid Rock.
True, I have met with people
who have lost their health insurance because of the policy from this last year.
Sean Hannity says that he no longer considers himself Catholic. Interesting.
Leo, who has openly condemned America. Now, I do want to shift gears with a message to the Vatican tonight, specifically to Pope Leo, who has openly condemned America's war in Iran while seemingly enjoying a public fight with President Trump. First, let me give some context. Like millions of Americans, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I even attended a seminary in high school, studied theology, Latin, went to Mass daily. But as of today, I no longer consider myself a Catholic. Where are the pointed words for Iran, this evil regime the number one state sponsor of terror, the people that murdered 45,000 innocent protesters. Not a peep from Pope Leo. Iran is now set to, literally have 4 more protesters and hang them and kill them, including a woman. Nothing from Pope Leo. Iran oppresses women. Nothing from Pope Leo. Tortures them, rapes them, kills them. Nothing from the Pope. Iran backs terrorists in Iraq and Beirut who have killed Americans for decades. Nothing from Pope Leo. Iran drops bombs on holy sites and neighborhoods all over Israel, densely populated areas like Tel Aviv, and Pope Leo is not bothered to call them out by name. And while the Pope condemns all nuclear weapons, especially on the anniversary of Hiroshima, I don't think we had a choice. Same with Nagasaki. It did end a war, did save a lot of American lives. He doesn't seem interested in ever referencing Iran's unrelenting pursuit of them.
Interesting.
Question for the Pope. Is it the right or wrong thing to prevent radical mullahs in Iran, again, the number one state sponsor of terror, from ever having nuclear weapons? Today, President Trump raised this very important question. Take a look.
Well, I want him to preach the gospel. I'm all about the gospel. But I also know that you cannot let a certain country, which is a very mean-spirited country, have a nuclear weapon. If they did, they would use it.
The president is correct. The Pope is wrong on so many levels. Perhaps Leo's judgment is clouded. After all, he has an old Twitter account. And by the way, it is riddled with anti-Trump messages, including posts accusing Donald Trump of fueling racism and nativism, and other posts pushing for climate change and open borders. Ultimately, preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon is both moral and logical, and it could save potentially millions of lives. And we won't burden our children and grandchildren with a nuclear-armed terrorist state. Now, sadly, the same cannot be said for the leadership today of the Catholic Church.
Okay. Now we have some audio from an Indian oil taker pleading with Iranian forces to stop firing on it in the Strait of Hormuz this morning.
You gave me Sepa Navy. This is Motorangastan Marhedar. You gave me clearance to go. My name second on your list. You gave me clearance to go. You are fighting now. Let me turn back.
Even Buckley Carlson, the son of Tucker Carlson, has left the White House when he served as Vice President J.D. Vance's deputy press secretary. That's after Trump has publicly attacked his dad in recent weeks, calling him dumb, low IQ, and even a loser.
It is a blow on the net popularity rating. Pope Leo XIV at plus 34. Look at where Donald Trump is at minus 12. It's not even close. It's a nearly 50-point blowout amongst the American public at large. Pope Leo XIV absolutely crushing President Trump when it comes to how popular they are, at least as of the last month. And I will note that Pope Leo was the most popular person tested by NBC News. I believe the president is making a humongous mistake going after the most popular guy in America, at least well-known guy.
The question is, why is this man smiling here? How about among American Catholics?
Yeah, that's right. There's a reason why the Pope is smiling there. How about among American Catholics? President Trump is struggling with American Catholics. Look at this. Maybe this is part of the reason why he's going after the Pope. U.S. Catholics on Trump. You know, you go back to November of 2024. Look at this. President Trump crushed Kamala Harris by 20 points. But down he goes into the Dead Sea. Look at this, minus 4 points. That's a nearly 25-point switcheroo in the wrong direction. The president has been struggling with Catholics. And I must say, in my expert opinion, I'm not quite sure that going after the Pope is the way to recover with Catholics.
And look, we were just listening to that interview with Kate right there. And the Pope's stance on Iran is exactly what you would expect from a pontiff talking about war and peace here. What do Catholics in the United States, how do they feel about the military action?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pope Leo XIV, an American, is emblematic of Catholics here in America. Just take a look here. Take a look. Net approval rating among U.S. Catholics. U.S. military action against Iran, minus 10 points, quite negative. You think that's low, though? Come over to this side of the screen. Trump on Iran. Look at this. They're even more sour on Trump. 20 points underwater. So the bottom line is this. The Pope is emblematic of Catholics here in the United States. The Pope is far more popular with the American public than Trump is here in the United States. And Trump has been struggling with Catholics here in the United States, very much so, losing a lot of ground, as you see right here, a nearly 25-point switcheroo. And this ain't going to help.
Now, again, interesting to see how long he continues this, given what these numbers show. Harry, and thank you.
Interesting. For Trump, he just signed an order also to speed up access to psychedelic drug treatments. This should be a good thing for people that need it. When Trump was asked this question, let's hear his answer.
Mental health crisis, and over 20% of U.S. women are on these drugs that are prescribed for life. We have a mental health crisis, and
Do they work?
No. They don't. Maybe I'm on a couple of them. And
I would not have. I would not have.
I'm talking to weeds. I said I figured I'd be next, but no, it is definitely an issue for women.
Over 20% of U.S. women are on these drugs that are prescribed for life. We have a mental health crisis, and
Do they work?
No. They don't. Maybe I'm on a couple of them. And
I would not have. I would not have.
I'm talking to weeds. I said I figured I'd be next, but no, it is definitely an issue for women.
And let's see what Thomas Massey is saying about the files.
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and of political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
Let's see what Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan are saying about the current state of the world.
More comfortable and more like we are done with people coming in illegally and being treated better in a more comfortable and more luxurious manner than we treat our own people.
Well, the whole point is to humiliate and degrade the indigenous population of the British Isles, the white population. I mean, that's the whole point. And are they really going to do something about it? What would that be exactly? You'd really have to force a lot of people to go back to their countries of origin, millions of people, and you need to do it really soon. And are they actually willing to do that? I don't know, but these are existential questions that we have been browbeat into ignoring for decades. But the question is like, is Ireland Ireland? If it's majority non-Irish? Oh, shut up, they're Irish. No, they're actually not Irish. Same with the UK, same with England, Scotland, Wales. Like, it's all changing so fast. Nothing like this has ever happened in all of history, except when, say, the Mongols swept across the steppe and raped everybody. Like, that was true demographic change on this scale. But even that wasn't as profound as what we're seeing in every white country around the world. I would say the West, but Australia and New Zealand also. So, like, what is that? Now, my brain is not big enough to understand what that is. I have a lot of theories about it, but I don't know if they're true. All I know is what the numbers are. And that's real. And no one feels that he can say it. Everyone's like, oh, well, if that were happening in China or India or Malaysia or Senegal, it doesn't matter. You'd be like, what the hell is that? Like, the population's totally different. Look at graduation. Pick, King's College Law School and look at the graduation picture for the last 30 years. Who's in it? Just like, let your eyes tell you the truth for once. Like, this is a total change in population. Is it better? Is it worse? Can't have that conversation. Who's pushing this? Does the population want it? The population clearly doesn't want it. There's no polling that's meaningful on the subject. I mean, there's no referendum on it. You don't get to decide. You've got no voice in it other than you get to go to jail if you complain loudly enough about it. What is this? I think it's the biggest and darkest thing that has happened in the last 1,000 years, for sure. And I think it's leading somewhere really, really bad. It's not happening by accident. That's obvious because it's only happening in white countries.
I mean, I think that...
Oh, shut up, white supremacist. Well, in fact, I'm not a white supremacist. I'm just noticing what the hell's going on.
Thomas Massey responds to Donald Trump's relentless attacks on him. I vote with the party and with the president 90% of the time. One of those 9% cases where I deviated and I think it struck a nerve with him was when I forced the release of the files.
A disaster for...
President Trump sounded off on Thomas Massey, who represents Northern Kentucky in Congress.
He is the worst person. His name is... What the hell? How did he ever end up in Kentucky? His name is Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is a disaster for our party.
I've got a thick skin. You know, I vote with the party and with President Trump 91% of the time. One of those 9% cases where I deviated, and I think it struck a nerve with him, was when I forced the release of the Epstein files. I authored that bill.
Today, I talked to Massey about the swipes the president keeps taking at him during a visit to Massey's farm in Lewis County.
You know, I still like Donald Trump, believe it or not. I voted for him 3 times. But Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. And that's where I am. I trust, but sometimes he has bad advisors. Sometimes he has the wrong people whispering in his ear.
Let's see what the Belarus president is saying about President Trump.
Brave. Do you see a day? You are one of the people who is leading a move for a brave new world in the future. You may not be around. I may not be around. Maybe we're too old to see this, but maybe our children will see this. Where countries like North Korea, Belarus, Iran, China, Russia, South Africa, Brazil, I could go on, where these countries become a formidable enough force to not defeat the West, but stand next to them as equals. Do you see that day coming? And is that part of what drives you?
Well, you sound like God. God willing, that time will come. I hope such a time arrives. Based on the current situation and circumstances, it's hard for me to believe that this time will come. But despite some foolishness and some impulsiveness, Trump did a lot for this. Trump showed the whole world that your United States of America is not all-powerful.
Net a superpower.
By its power, it is a superpower, but not a superforce. Everyone has understood this, and America's main enemy is China. If the Americans couldn't handle Iran, as I've said long ago, then they should not mess with China. They will never be able to deal with that kind of power. The US leadership understood that they are a superpower, but not a superforce. This understanding gives hope that once the Americans realize this, they will have to consider not only China and Russia. Russia is such a vast territory that they won't achieve anything with missiles. The missiles will run out faster than the territory of Russia. Iran has shown this too. I'm not even talking about the consequences. The Middle East, the global economy, and so on, they've suffered from this reckless adventure in Iran. I'm not going to discuss that. The facts are clear. They've shown that you Americans need to stop and understand that beyond US interests, Greenland, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, the Panama Canal, and other parts of the Western Hemisphere, there are countries with their own interests, even within your hemisphere. But Trump has done a lot. Bad things, as we understand, and you do too. But he's also revealed the true face of the United States and its capabilities to the world. They are not limitless. This situation may lead to Americans being forced to consider other interests, which means that a bright future isn't.
Even Trump is talking about the country of Cuba.
And very soon this great strength will also bring about a day, 70 years in waiting. It's called A New Dawn for Cuba. We're going to help them out with Cuba. We have a lot of great Cuban Americans. Not too many people in this audience, I don't think, but you go to Miami, we have people, Cuban Americans, people that were brutally treated, whose families were killed and brutalized. And now, watch what happens. Under this, and very soon this great strength will also bring.
Let's hear what Joe Rogan and President Trump talked about today, too.
Gigantic opiate. I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
What is Senator John Kennedy saying about the president as well?
Look, there are too many distractions. You know, I love the president like a taco. Don't always agree with him, but I think he wants a better world. But I don't agree with him about this new holy war with the Pope. Look, I'm not Catholic. I was raised a Presbyterian. When Becky and I got married, I was Presbyterian. She was Methodist. We compromised. I became a Methodist. I have great respect for Catholicism. And even if I didn't, the Pope is entitled to his opinion. Why do we want to have a fight with the Pope? It's a distraction. And the press just sucks it up like a Hoover Deluxe. I would like to see the president talk about all we have done to control the cost of living. Look, the president is not the father of this inflation. He's not the daddy, but he's got to raise the child, and we've got a good story to tell. This one big, beautiful bill is going to help a lot of people in terms of their taxes and a lot of small businesses. And that's what I wish the president would talk more about. If we talk about it, we'll win the midterms.
Wow.